Welcome to Bottle Rocket with Elena Sucheva, your top hockey podcast. Welcome back to Bottle Rocket. I'm Elena, joined as always by Maven Teabag, and Chico Resch will be joining us shortly. How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
I want to ask Teabag a very important question. How do you interpret the Vancouver Canucks from here to the end of the season? Are they going to be dead last? Is this a dead team?
Oh, absolutely. They're, I think, 7 points back of the next nearest team. So I think they've got 41 points, and next closest team is Calgary with 47. So they're not going to be making up any ground, that's for sure. And they've only got less than 30 games left. So to gain that kind of ground in 30 games is unless they go on some ungodly winning streak, which I can't see. They're definitely going to finish last and hopefully get that first pick in the draft because they've never had it.
Here's the Hockey News yearbook. I consider this my Bible. And what they did here is they analyzed each team, and they also picked where they thought the team would finish. I'm not going to tell you what it says, but I want each of you to guess where they picked Vancouver to finish in the Pacific.
Mm-hmm. My guess would be in the 9-10 spot. So.
I'm talking about at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, at the beginning of the season, I think they probably would have picked them in the 9-10 spot.
Well, where do you think they would be picked in the Pacific division?
I have to look at the Pacific division now. Okay. Central. Let me see. I would say probably fifth.
What?
Fifth.
Fifth,
number 5.
Okay. Well, they were picked fourth. It says it's a page. Anyhow, it says they picked to finish fourth. So where are they going to finish? In what position?
Dead last.
Okay.
Oh.
Now, I'm very interested in the Canucks for a couple of reasons. First of all, I've known Jimmy Rutherford since he was a goalie. In fact, I have the book my wife and I did, the Fishless Encyclopedia. He was on the cover, and we've been good friends for a long, long time. Whenever he came to New York, I'd see him in the press room. Is he the one who gets the blame, or who gets the blame for this?
Well, ultimately, it's the players. So, they're obviously not executing. And personally, ultimately the blame has to go with the leadership, which is Jimmy Rutherford. But I just think Adam Foote is the wrong guy for this team. He's trying to make them play a system that they're not built for, and it's not working. And trying to promote an assistant coach to head coach is very difficult because you can't. It's very hard to go from assistant coach because you're allowed to be buddy with the players, but a head coach has to have that degree of separation, and you got to be seen as the boss. I don't think the players see Adam Foote as the boss, so it's not working. It hasn't worked from the very beginning. It's patently obvious, and so they've got to make a change. Whether they make it now or at the end of the season, it doesn't really matter. But that change has got to be made, and I think pretty much the whole coaching staff has got to go.
Okay, fair enough. Now, they hired this guy. Was this guy ever a head coach in the NHL?
Adam Foote? No, never.
Okay, so that's number one mistake. I want to know who Jerry would have picked to coach the team last summer when they were picking a coach. Who would you have picked?
I would have picked the best coach available, which is Pete DeBoer. and he's still not hired by anybody. So he's still out there, which frustrates me because I think he's the guy that could come in and right the ship. So, but he's just sitting at home collecting a paycheck.
You're right. You're right. But who's criticized Rutherford in the media, either in newspaper or on TV or whatever? Has anybody ripped him for this?
Rip Jim Rutherford. Yeah. I wouldn't say ripped, but there's been grumblings. The media around here covering the Canucks is not really, they kind of, how to explain it? They're just they seem reticent to criticize because they think they'll be banned from the the press box or something. There's got to be something rotten in Denmark there because they're really not going after them very hard. Like they do very mild criticism. So put it that way.
Well, do you know what he just proved to me, Elena?
What?
He proved to me that the Canucks should be playing in Denmark.
Yeah.
Are they wasting their time in British Columbia? So now I have to ask this question to Elena because I've said this many, many times. I grew up a Maple Leaf fan starting in 1942 and lasted until 1952. But even after, when Punch Imlach was coaching, I was very, very close to the team, and that was a wonderful team. And 2 books have been written about it. At least one of them with Punch Imlach, and the other one I think was Scott Young. But the point is this: let me ask you this first of all. What's wrong with the Maple Leafs?
There's many issues.
Okay,
The
but
main
what's
issue
the
is,
main issue? Tell me the main issue.
honestly, when I look at this team, I think it comes down to management. I really do. I mean, it's how the team has been managed because no matter what changes have been made over the years, nothing really changes. The defense is really bad. There have been a lot of injuries this season as well. Tanev is out, Nylander is out, Carlo was out for the majority of the season. And then you add the goaltending situation. It's unstable, it's unreliable. We have 3 goaltenders, and they're kind of good, but not good enough. I mean, Wall will have a really good night, and then the following night he's not great. Same with Stolarz. He's only played like 2 games since coming back from injury, and I wouldn't put him in against strong teams right now. So we'll see how they perform tonight against Vancouver. I also think Berube is panicking a bit, because all his interviews sound the same. It's always, we need confidence, we need to be more consistent. It's the same messaging over and over, which tells me he doesn't really have the answers. Also, I don't think it's about one specific player. I think it's the group itself. Something is missing. There's something going on in the dressing room that we're not even aware of. Sometimes it honestly comes across like they don't even like each other.
What's your evaluation of the captain? Is he the wrong guy to be captain? Steve Simmons.
I don't think they ever should have taken the C away from Tavares. But it's too late now. You can give it to Matthews and then take it away. He'd probably be gutted. That said, I don't think Matthews is the main issue. I mean, he's softer than Tavares in terms of leadership style, but he's still the guy who scores the goals.
Okay, so what you're telling me, the way I'm interpreting this, is that the manager is at fault.
Yep, absolutely. Treliving is making some really strange decisions, like we were just talking about it with Jerry. Giving away a first-round pick last year for Carlo, who then missed most of the season. At some point, you have to stop giving away first-round picks. I mean, right now this team needs defense, and he's not doing enough. We made an offer for Anderson, and of course Vegas got him instead. That was a real opportunity to build the blue line, and now Riley's being leaned on again, playing huge minutes. Jerry, how many minutes is he playing right now?
It's 25.
Yep, and he's the worst defenseman I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I ask you this. You look at the Maple Leafs, and according to the Hockey News, they're the wealthiest team in the NHL.
Yep.
Second wealthiest team in the NHL are the Rangers. Now the Rangers are going to miss the playoffs. I mean, they put the white flag up
I
two
saw that.
weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. In fact, they should be wearing all white uniforms because they surrendered. But I just wonder how the two wealthiest teams in the NHL, and we're talking about billion, valued in billions with a big capital B, that they can't get it straight. It's amazing. Now, in New York, we have three people who run the team. The owner is James Dolan. He owns the Garden. His father was the guy who hired me. Chuck Dolan put me in the business, and they can't seem to get it straight. So you got the owner, who they also own the Knickerbockers basketball team, and he likes the Knicks better than the Rangers because he's a basketball guy, but he owns the Rangers. So he's the number one guy. He picks the general manager. Now, he picked it was the dumbest thing of all. They missed the playoffs last year. They were terrible. They were terrible. And Drury, the general manager, he should have been fired. And instead of firing this guy, he gives him a multi-year contract. He rewarded ineptitude. So that's bad enough. And then Drury hires this guy who would 3 years in a row, he had Crosby, he had Malkin, he had Letang, and he was a 3-year loser, and he brings another loser in, and he gives him more money than any other coach in the league is getting. Now, there's a certain definition of insanity that a friend of mine told me the other day, that if you keep doing a dumb thing over and over, that's insanity. Okay.
And expect different results. Yeah.
It's like a topsy-turvy hockey world. Conversely, the Islanders, Lou Lamoriello was given he's now the advisor to the owner, Scott Malkin, which is nice. They didn't can Lou. They gave him, and they brought in this guy from Tampa Bay who's just been fantastic. In fact, he made 2 deals. He got one guy from the Rangers, and he got this other guy from the Devils back to back, and each one scored a goal. And they beat the Rangers in Long Island at UBS. Then they came to the Garden, and they beat the Rangers the other night 2-1. And in each game, one of these two new guys scored. Now, I'm not saying the Islanders are going to make the playoffs, because in this Bible of mine, I got to take a look and tell you where they picked the Rangers to finish 4th, and they're going to finish either last or in Hartford. I suggested they make a trade. They trade the Rangers to Hartford, and they bring up the whole Hartford minor league team. So the Rangers would finish 4th in Metro, which is not going to happen. Okay, let me see how smart you guys are. Where do you think the Islanders were picked at the beginning of the season by the Hockey News? Where do you think? Huh?
I would say near the bottom.
Don't give me a near. Tell me where.
I would have said 13th out of 16.
Now, this is in the division. In the Metro division, they were picked 7th.
Yeah.
And they have I'm not saying I'm not even going to say they're going to make it, because they can blow it, but they're in the midst of it. They're in it, and he's already made 2 deals. He's talking about making another deal, maybe a big name, maybe Stamkos. Stamkos is one of the names, and if not a big name, he's looking around even more. So there you have, in Yiddish we have an expression, "Goodish helfen," that you can't do anything right. Well, it's the Rangers, goodish helfen. The Islanders, they're playing. Who are they playing? They're playing Nashville. So if they beat Nashville, they got a little bit of a cushion.
What's going on with Panarin? He's being benched for the next few games before the Olympics break.
Benched. They're not playing him, period, because they're trying to make a deal for him. But you see, one of the dumb things that Drury did, he gets these guys, he gives them the crazy money to start with, crazy money, crazy years, and with a no trade contract, okay? So if Panarin doesn't get what he wants in Doe and in another team, then they may be really up the creek.
Who do you
Really up.
think he might be traded to? Imagine him being traded to Washington. I heard they made an offer to pair him with Ovechkin, two Russians.
Well, the thing is, everybody out there now is an expert. So I read just yesterday that there are 12 teams interested in, yeah, I've always been interested in meeting Madonna, and I never did. They may find that it's not going to work, and then the Rangers going to be stuck. But he was the best player on the team, and getting him was a terrific move. One of the best free agent signings. But it's more than just the goals. It's also there's a plus minus thing in this business, and his plus minus I just checked is minus 18. Now the only thing worse than that is minus 19, which happens to be Mika, the great Mika Zibanejad, who I don't know how old he is, but I think he's around 31 or 32, and he still doesn't know how to spell back check. In fact, he doesn't even know what the hell back check is all about. So, but Panarin has some minuses, and but like you said, a lot of teams would like him. Okay. Well, I would like to win the lottery, but it doesn't mean I'm going to win the lottery, right? So it's a very crazy situation now, and the team is not playing terrible, just terrible. I want to start off with Jerry. What are your thoughts about the Olympics in any way, shape, or form?
I haven't really thought about it much. In terms of how it affects the NHL, I've always hated the compressed schedule. I think it creates injuries and is, it's just not a good thing for the players, especially the players who go to the Olympics, because they don't get a break. The players who don't make the Olympic team get a 2-week break, are able to heal up and whatnot and get ready for the final run. But these guys who play in the Olympics, they're going all out, for 2 weeks and the highest level of hockey there is, minus the Russian team, of course. But it's a tough one. I really think that it would, in Olympic years, it would be better to start the season earlier in September rather than start it at its regular time after the first week of October. So, don't go to that compressed schedule, because it's really detrimental to the product. Players are more tired. They don't play as well, and some players, it really affects them. They really fall off a cliff. So, it really, other than the entertainment factor for those 2 weeks, of hockey, which is amazing, and it really doesn't do the league any favors. So I kind of wish they would make some adjustments.
Gary Bettman, I can assure you that if it was not any lobbying from the Players Association, he works for the owners. 32 owners would not like to have their star, somebody who's significant in terms of the playoffs, injured, which is always a possibility, and it's happened before. It happened many times. Same thing with the All-Star game.
And we've got a great addition jumping in. Chico Resch is with us now. Thanks for hopping on.
Oh, how are you? Nice to meet you.
Well, same here. Good to meet you, and you're friends of Stan, so I have to say you're a friend of mine.
Aw.
Right?
Chico, I want to get your opinion because we were talking
Yes.
about right now whether the Olympics are a good thing for the NHL, and I was about to say of the 32 owners, I'd say 32, if they had their way, wouldn't want the Olympics because all the possibility of injury and the cockeyed, compressed season. What's your thinking about it?
Oh, exactly. They didn't vote for this. It's the Players Association, Stan. Okay, but they don't say anything. We're not. Are we on?
Yes,
Yeah.
we are.
Oh, we are on. Then I can't tell you, Stan. I could tell you something off the record, but I can't tell you on. But anyway, I'm not a. No, I'm not a like what. Let's say Finland and Sweden plays for the gold medal. You think that's going to really increase attendance here? No. Everybody's thinking like the four nations. Oh, it's going to be U.S. and Canada. Maybe, but it's a different game, you guys, when it comes to the Olympics. That was bang 'em up and physical. I don't think the Olympics are going to be that way. But anyway, that's just my thought.
Okay, the other thing that we were discussing is two teams who have miserably failed. Vancouver having an awful year, and our favorite dartboard, the Rangers.
Well,
Now-
let me ask you guys all of this. Okay, you're all GMs now. Who is a young, up and coming, I mean an impact player, not just a good player, on either of those teams that you are going to build your team around? Who is it?
Well, if it was Vancouver, based on his age and his talent, I'd go with Peterson. And well, see, that
No,
shows you-
Stan. We just played him. He's a good player, Stan, but he ain't a Celebrini. He's not a McDavid. He's not an Austin Matthews. No, he's a good player. Same thing with the Rangers. There isn't one dynamic player. And of course, Lafreniere, they missed. He's first overall, and it's not his
Terrible.
fault.
What?
It's not his fault. He is who he is. It's just there wasn't anybody dynamic that year in the draft.
Yeah, but he had fantastic numbers when he came out of juniors, and he was like the automatic first. Nobody, everybody expected him to be better than he would be better than Ken Sutton.
No, he was not talked about like Bedard, Celebrini, Hughes. He didn't get that kind of recognition. Scouts knew he was the best of the group, but he wasn't this dynamic player like, say, even Panarin when he was young, or Zibanejad. But you can't build around those guys now.
Speaking of that, how about this 18-year-old guy on the Islanders who nobody was even talking about Schaefer, before. And in fact, the only guy who was talking about Schaefer is saying that I want to play in the NHL and I expect to play in the NHL. When I heard that, I said, "This guy's cuckoo. He didn't even play a full season in Erie." And these guys, he's saying. And he's turned out. This guy, they say if the round peg goes into the round, this kid fits everything from personality to star. He scores goals.
Fishy, did you scout him? How many games did you see him play junior? How much? Here's what I'm saying. When you talk to the scouts back then, they said, "Oh no, this guy is special." Don't get me wrong, Stan. I've been around the NHL 50 years. I don't know much about mathematics. I don't know much about science, but I know hockey players. This guy had all the qualities. And we had Bert Marshall, who used to be an Islander, and he was 83. When he scouted, he looked at him every game, every play. And if that guy goes all out and has that special ability to control the play, like Bobby, I mean, this guy had a Stanley. People didn't know how big he was going to be. But when Denny Potvin, or even who else, Mike Richter or somebody was drafted, they knew he was going to be good. So I'm just saying, Stan, he's not as big a surprise to the scouts and the people that watched him. But unfortunately, if you're a Ranger fan, he was available when the Islanders had first overall, and Lafreniere was the available player when they drafted first. I feel okay. Let me ask you all this: Do any of you feel bad for the Ranger fans?
Well,
Not
being from Vancouver, I'm still
I'm
I'm
from
still
Toronto, so we're in
I-
the same boat, sort of.
I'm
How
still
can
more.
you feel sorry for the Garden, which charges something like $20 for a glass of beer?
No. I Stan, I didn't say, are you feeling bad for the Garden? I didn't say that. I said, are you feeling bad for some of the hardcore Ranger fans? And some people do, and some people don't, because they're the ones that are paying the freight.
Yes, and I have many, and I know you sometimes get my Ranger stories. They're crushed. They're crushed in every which way. One of my buddies, Sean McCaffrey, does a thing called Blue Collar Blue Shirt, which is a wonderful thing. And this guy used to go on trips, go to Seattle to watch them play.
I know.
You know, all kinds of. And my buddy just wrote me. A friend of mine owns a vacuum cleaner store on Broadway in Manhattan. Great guy, huge fan. And he told me that he was driving home with his wife. I guess it was yesterday, and he says his wife said, "How are you feeling, Mark?" And he said, "I feel great. I don't have to watch the Rangers tonight."
but you know, Stanley, there are some great Ranger fans, and those are the people I'm talking about, and it's got to be crushing. But here's what I want you folks. I have another question. I need you to answer for me because I don't know the difference. What is the difference? We're not rebuilding, we're retooling. They used to kind of mean the same thing to me. But, you know, Chris Drury says, no, we're not rebuilding, we're retooling. And I'm thinking, can you tell me the difference?
Well, it's what I call something that's related to a book. This is a bestseller, and it was called How to Lie with Statistics. It's a bestseller. This is a little similar version. How to Lie with Words.
Exactly. I mean, like, honestly, you know what really bothers me, you guys? You're all hockey fans, and we're not the brightest, but we're not stupid. Don't throw some of this stuff at us and thinking, oh, that really fires me up. Oh, that changes my whole attitude. No, we know what's going on with hockey teams like Vancouver. My nephew coaches out there, and they're trying their hardest. But unless they get a dynamic player, and you're not going to get them in a draft, in a trade. You get them in drafts. You don't get them in trades anymore because all the good players, when they're like even Pettersson, he's got an $8 million contract. Do you realize how many $8 and $9 million contracts there are? Because they don't want to lose these guys. So it's hard to get good players in a trade. Or you got to pay a lot. And I just feel bad for the fans who just love to watch the game. They like, they like skill. They like spirit. Don't tell me, well, we just didn't have it tonight. We, it just wasn't there. If I go to a play on Broadway and I paid 150, 60 bucks and the dancer's falling down and they say, well, could you just bear with me? I just don't have it tonight. I'm just not feeling it. Oh, really? Well, give me my money back. But right, you guys know it's just the lies and the rationalization, and I get it. You have to say something. But this year with the Olympics, you guys, the number of injuries, the boys are tired. They're playing every second night. They're playing, 3 games in 4 nights. They're not robots. Their muscles. They get tired. They mentally get tired. But we expect this level every night, and it's just not happening. And it's because of the Olympics, and that's why I'm not a big fan of the Olympics. I'm a fan of the NHL. Have a summer. Remember, they used to have the World Cup, you guys, in August, and they got the however nations, 4 nations, 6 nations, and they had that playoff and that's when Richter and I think the USA won. But my point is, have it then, but not in the middle of the season. Come on.
Right. Chico, we were discussing Panarin. Where do you think Panarin's going to wind up?
Well, first of all, you got to think yourself, Stan. You're the GM of a certain team. You don't want to get fired. So you say, okay, I could take him after the deadline. I could take his salary for whatever, for a short period of time. But how much do I have to give up? Oh, no, I'm not doing that. Because honestly, I love Panarin. But as you know, all you guys know that skating is probably priority 1 in the National Hockey League now. I say, how is this guy? They say, oh, he's a good skater. And I'm thinking, tell me someone who isn't a good skater anymore, right, Stan? Not like the old days. Maybe Remke, I don't know. He's okay. But my point being is I'm not going to take him if I got to give up a good first rounder or a good young player. Panarin is not the player he was. I'm not saying he's not trying. If you don't have the breakaway speed, if you are not explosive in your first couple steps, you're not getting away from the back checker or the defenseman. You're just not, because they're all quick and fast. And so I watch him. He's Fish. I played till I was 39. I know about 35 and 36. And remember how they used to always say, the legs. If the legs go first, and everybody and everything else. And remember what Herbie Brooks said about the 80 Olympic team. What feeds the wolf, you guys? What ultimately feeds a wolf in the wild? What is it?
Meat.
His
Hunting.
legs. No, if he can't get the prey, he ain't eating. It's the legs, and it's the same thing in hockey. And when you're young, you can. But when you're 34, 35, you think, I want to, but I can't. And that's what I say, Fish, reading your blogs and reading about the Rangers, I don't think Zibanejad and Panarin, they want to be inconsistent. They don't want to score. They don't want to lead. I'm saying they can't. You're thinking of those players from 4 and 5 years ago, and then they still had the legs. But they don't anymore. I watch. And so what do you do? So Panarin, I don't know who will take him, you guys, because I would take him for the short haul if it was a minimal give up. It's like, everybody said the Devils should have taken Quinn Hughes. I said, okay, yeah, that's fine. Are you going to give up Nico Hischier? Are you going to give up Simon Nemec? Are you going to give up Dawson Mercer? I mean, the guy in Vancouver who had a Quinn Hughes, he doesn't want to get fired. So he's not saying, oh, just give me anybody. Just give me one of your worst players and I'll give you Quinn. No. So it's not easy to trade for those guys. And so Panarin will be interesting. But I just think Chris Drury, he has dug himself. Like Fish didn't do it often, but sometimes Fish dug himself a deep hole. And we had to reach down and help him out of it. And that's what Chris Drury's done. I just think, Chris, what's your plan? Where are you going with this? And I don't really know.
There's a town not many people know about. It's called Retoolsville.
Yeah. Not rebuild. Retool. You got to tell me the difference between rebuild and retool, because it's just a saying. But I'm saying I'm not buying it. But so the last thing is, Fish, like you mentioned, a couple friends, and I mean, some of the Ranger fans who got really arrogant when they were good. I don't feel bad for them, but some of the hardcore fans up near in the top rows and stuff that are just there to love hockey, I kind of feel bad that they're watching the Islanders just. How about Palat and Carson Sushi scoring in their first games after being traded?
But they did well picking their new GM. I mean, the guy has a track record with Tampa Bay, and he schooled under, learned under Brisebois, and it's. I tell people, I don't know whether the Islanders are going to make the playoffs or not, but when you have a season when you don't have a goalie of quality like Varlamov, you don't have a defenseman like Romanov, and you don't have our friend who came from Long Island. I can't think of the scorer who's out for the season. You got
Palmieri.
Palmieri.
Yeah.
Very, very important guy on that team. So they don't have him, and they don't have the two other guys, a key defenseman, and Varlamov got along very, very well, with Sorokin. So it's amazing that they're still contending. I just want to say,
here's the deal, those Fish. We were just out there about 10 days ago, UBS Center. Like, you remember when Denny Potvin came? I remember I was with the Islanders. They have Schaefer, who you can get the fans excited about. They're marketing him well. He's producing, okay? Then you got Patrick Waugh. Here's the biggest thing to me with players, the accountability. When a coach goes on and says, like the other night, who was it? The coach said, that was the worst period we've ever played. We should be embarrassed. And I would say to the media, don't go to him. Go to the players and ask one of them, hey, the coach said you were an embarrassment. You guys just didn't show up. Can you tell me what was going on? They don't go to the players. The coach generically says all this, but they're letting the players off. And then I say, these players are tired. Honestly, Fish. So what I'm saying is you got Patrick Waugh, who's really pushing. And he's got the track record. If he tells me, Chico, you got to do this or that, I can say, well, who are you? What did you ever win? He's got clout, right? And he is pushing them. We play them on Thursday. But my point is, a lot of coaches do not have the accountability. Even John Cooper, he does, because he's won Stanley Cups, right? And so the players are not nearly as accountable as they used to be, but I'm not saying it's all their fault either.
Well, the fact of the matter is, I have to go back to stupidity times 100. Why? And we're talking about the guy who owns the Rangers, Jimmy Dolan. How does he reward a guy who's failed and he gives Brewery a multi-contract and some nonsensical thing and blah 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 blah? This guy's failed as a GM, and then
I agree. But Stan, Dolan, did this Dolan build? Did he build what's going on in New York, or was it maybe his dad, and he gave it to the son? So really, the son wouldn't know what all that, because he never grew up having to succeed. It was given to him. But anyway, I want to ask Elena now. You're in Toronto, and Chief Craig Berube, we love him as a coach. Do you think Toronto can make the playoffs, Elena?
Oh man, no. I don't think so. I think the season is basically a write-off. Before the last game, there was a slim bit of hope, but that's gone now. I love Berube, I really do, but I don't think his system is sticking. Something's not clicking, something feels off. I think the issue is in the dressing room, like I said before. The goaltending has been inconsistent. The defensive structure has been really bad this year. Yes, they've had injuries on the back end, but even with that, it's not good.
Lena, the only thing I know, and Stan's been around, I know talent. And who back on the Leaf defense is somebody like Schaefer or somebody like even Fox when he was good? They don't have they have an okay defense, but every team's got an okay defense. But who's their game changer?
We have Riley. He's awful.
No, but he was never. Don't get me wrong. In Toronto, you guys praise him. You see him. Outside of Toronto, he was never considered a really top defenseman. Honestly, he wasn't. But you're right.
He's been bad for quite a while now, and I think a lot of Leafs fans feel this way. And the problem is we can't even trade him.
And that's what I mean. But that's what I say. They don't have anybody. Like, I feel bad for Chief. He's got Austin Matthews, who had a big spurt, right? And Villander can score and maybe change the game. Marner's gone. They got a couple of young kids. That Knives kid might turn into something. And Cowan's another young guy, maybe. But again, they need a dynamic player like Schaefer, and where are they going to get him? I don't think Austin Matthews is going to hang around, because I don't know what you guys, you could tell me what you think, what Connor McDavid did. He said, listen, I'll take a salary cut. I'll give you 2 years. I'm giving you some cap space. You need to help me win a cup, because when he's done, and people are going to say to him, Connor, you were the greatest player in your era ever. How many cups did you win? None.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's going to have all the money in the world. He needs a cup to complete his hockey career. And that's what I say about Austin Matthews, too. I don't see him re-signing, but, you know, it's human nature, right?
Maybe we'll sign Connor McDavid.
You're professional.
Good point. Good point.
In 2028, we're ready. We've been ready.
But you're right. But Elena, he's not signing with you guys, with Toronto. He's signing with a contender, right?
He's from Toronto. Maybe he will.
Nope. No, you got to get this. He needs a cup, and Toronto's not going to win a cup with that team. He's going to go maybe like look, they had 10 former first rounders on Florida, and everybody says they won the last 2 cups. Well, yeah, they had 10 former first rounders that played pretty good. Like, how many teams have that? But people want to go to Florida, right? And they all came together at the right time. But Toronto, the pressure. I hate to say it to you Leaf fans.
I don't think Florida will be in the playoffs this year either.
Well, that's
Chico,
it.
You omitted the reason why the Leafs are not going to make the playoffs and never win the cup. And the guy is John Tavares. He double-crossed the Islanders.
Islanders, a curse. We should have him back. We'll take Schaefer instead.
Exactly. No, you're kind of right. Who do you guys think are the top contenders this year? Give me 4.
Colorado.
Yes.
Vegas.
Yes.
Canes.
Yeah.
Sharks.
How about out east? Who's the best team? Like you say, Florida. If Barkov, who I just so admire that guy, if he comes back, they'll have a chance. But you know, they got to get in the playoffs first, right? They're out of the playoffs.
I don't think they will, and I hope they won't.
At least you're honest, girl.
Mm-hmm.
We love Paul Maurice. Paul Maurice is a wonderful guy. He's the funniest coach in the entire league. But I want you to address the question of goaltending, because T-Bag is a goalie. He played beer league, and I'm disgusted with goaltending in the NHL, because all these guys go flopping down. They do these cockamamie, what do they call it? Not the flamingo.
Butterfly.
The butterfly.
They both fly terribly. They don't know what they're doing anymore. They're doing these butterflies, and they're all getting injured. You have to have 3 goalies in your system that you could rely on. Look at the Rangers. They got a guy who's going to retire at the end of the season for sure, quick. And then they brought a guy in. I think they brought a guy in from the planet Mars. I never heard of this guy, Martin.
No, he's from Mars. They shortened it to Martin, but he's actually a Martian. But they shortened it to Martin. Anyway, I agree, Stan, but here's what we just had an honor where Johnny McLean, a great player that you know, I played with him. Okay, we had his, he's in the Ring of Honor up on the Devils, up on the top of the rink. But Scott Stevens was there, Kenny Danico. You tell me, Fish, I watch all these games. If a guy gets in front of the goalie, he's right there screening. You would have said 15 years ago, clear the crease. You cannot do it. The referee will give you a penalty if you touch that guy. If you hook him, not punch him, but cross-check him, try to drive him out of the area, he's going to go into the goalie, and the referee's going to say, the guy drove him into the goalie. Then, Stan, you got no hitting. It's a no-hit league this year, just sticks. But the guy's got the puck, Stan. Think about it. You're on the left side. He's got the puck on the left wing. He can make a cross-ice pass for a one-timer to the right side. And people think, well, why does the goalie just go over there and save that? Do you realize how hard that is? You're moving, the guy's one-timing the puck. There are so many one-time open goals. You would have never seen that. But that's the nature of goaltending. Here's my question, though, you guys. Right now, the refereeing, you touch a guy, you hit the guy in the penalty. But then remember last year in the playoffs? It was a different game. It was tough. It was, you could hit, that's the scores went way down. But my point is, and someone said this to me, the reason they're calling it so tight now is because players are tired. And they're playing a lot of games. So let's just keep the sticks. They can stick check and stuff, but no big hitting, no physical play. They're tired enough. But then come playoff time, will they revert back to last year where there were some wars out there, and I liked it, but I don't know which way they're going.
The goaltending now, is, from when you and I played, it's something that I don't even recognize. I think that these goaltenders now, they're more playing the odds than really reading the play. They're down in the butterfly, covering as much net as possible. They become more shot blockers than goalies. You were a smaller guy. You were what, 5'9", 180 or something?
Yeah, I couldn't play today.
And so, you had to move. You had to read the play and move and react. And I think that some of these goalies now that they're just so big that they just position themselves in the best possible place. And like I say, they become shot blockers. They're not really goalies like in the old days.
Well, we'll see that's the dilemma. But here's the deal. I've talked to officials. If they're in their crease and they're touched by an opposing player, that's goalie interference. But if they're outside the crease, like Marty used to be, me, all the goalies, and we wanted to go, we're on the left side, the puck's passed to the right, but their guy standing on the crease, but he's not in the crease, he's just outside the crease, I got to go around him because the referee will say, no, you ran into him. He's got a right to stand in front. So they take away that challenging, moving side to side outside the crease. He says, do it in the crease. So now you're in the crease. Well, you got to be 6'3", 4, 5, because you're right. You're just trying to get over and block it because you can't challenge. You can't do that. Like Marty Brodeur, if he was honest, he would have trouble playing in today's game. He was not a butterfly goalie. But, and this is nothing against him, I watched it. Maybe there was 3 or 4, 5 good chances against him in a game because Scott Stevens would be banging somebody or Danico would have rocked somebody or, you're hitting and you're playing that. But now, in one period, a goalie can have 10 good chances against them because it's just stick. There's no intimidation. Remember Fish and back in the day, you had to have courage to play. Here's the thing is, Elena, don't ever say He went to the dirty areas to score. There's no dirty areas. There's nothing. It's all, he goes to the front of the net. It's a straight, it's like the expressway to the front of the net. And Fishy, if you get there first, so you get there first before Elena's a defense person. Somebody's going to get in front of the goalie first, either her or the attacking player. If he gets there first, you can't get him out. And you look at how close he is to the goalie. He's outside the crease, which the referee said he has to be, but he's right in the face of the goalie. Now you'd say, well, why doesn't the defenseman clear him out? He can't, because if he goes to take that man, and that man, if he's smart, the guy in front of the net screening, he'll go into the goalie, and then the referee will say, yeah, but the guy pushed him in. It's not his fault. No, it's still a goal. The game has so dramatically changed. It's almost unrecognizable from the hitting and that kind of point of view. You just can't. So I'm saying that's why it's Sorokin. He beat my record. And here was a funny thing. He plays the night we're out there, I think about 10 days ago, and he's tied with me. And he's playing that night. I'm doing the broadcast. I looked at the Stan Fischler display in the UBS Center, really nice, and he gets a shutout. He beat my record right in front of my eyeballs, but I was happy.
Oh, I wanted to ask you about Ovechkin. So, what's that phenomenon that he scores? Well, he probably scored like 300 goals from the same spot, and every single goaltender knows where it's coming from, yet they still let it in. How is it possible?
Only, Elena, don't get me wrong, but you haven't been down there. You have no idea. Like, I even forget sometimes. I go on the ice once in a while, look where, like, he's inside the circle by the dot. You have no idea how hard that puck's coming and how quick. It's like if you don't, just like we were talking about, if you almost don't block it, I mean, that guy, and Stamkos is the same way. They're let's see, they're right-handed shots on the power play. They go to the left side, and then they get the one-timers. And here's the biggest thing. In his mind, he doesn't see the hole. What he sees in his mind is a 4x6 area. He doesn't have to look. He just got to hit a hole in that area, and they do. Like, shooting percentage with the Devils right now, we're struggling. Our top players are at maybe 5, 6, 3, 7%. But Ovechkin, he's still only in maybe 13, 14. But his stick, I have a picture of the whip on his stick. And the old wood sticks that we played against, nobody uses them. But the whip on this stick drives that puck. And that's why he can score. The only thing I don't like about Ovechkin right now, and I really liked him before he was tough, is that he says, I want to play my last year in the Continental League. So I want to say, oh, okay, so you come to America, you make hundreds of millions of dollars, you're the leading goal scorer, but you don't want to play your last game in Washington. Now, if they said you're done and he goes back, fine. But don't tell me, I really, I won the cup here and I've got all this stuff going, but I want to go back to Russia to play my last game and really finish out there. It's just like, I think that's kind of self-centered, but that's just me.
Chico, I don't remember whether you are a golfer or not. Are you a golfer?
I've golfed, but I wouldn't say I'm a golfer, but I've golfed.
I'm going to tell you my favorite golf joke. And the reason it's my favorite golf joke is years ago, when I was still working with the Islanders, they had a preseason golf thing out in Long Island. John Ledecky had it. And it was all captains, all Islander former captains like Pat Flatley and so on and so forth. So what happened was we were in a gazebo doing the interviews. And every time a golfer captain of the Islanders was done, he'd come up and I'd do an interview. And so I had an opportunity to tell the same joke 7 straight times. because there were 7 captains. And it's the only time I ever went 7 for 7 with a joke. And this is the joke that I told. It's a great. You're laughing already. It's before I even
I
told
know,
you.
because here's the thing, everyone that doesn't know it. People laugh at Stan's jokes, and sometimes they're really funny, sometimes they're just sort of funny, but you have to laugh because he laughs. And he wants so much for you to think it's funny. We all okay, are you ready? Are your bellies ready? We gotta have belly laughs today when he tells this joke. Okay, everybody? Go ahead, Fish.
This husband and wife were avid golfers and very competitive. And on this particular day, it got very intense between the two of them. Bitter. And that night, neighbors who lived right near them heard a lot of noise and a ruckus coming from their house. And somebody called the cops because they were worried. And the cop pulls up and he goes into the house, and what does he see? He sees the husband is on the floor. He's still alive, but he's bleeding, and his wife is standing over him with a 5-iron, and there's blood coming off the golf club. And the cop looks at the wife and says, "Is this your husband?" And she says, "Yes." And the cop says, "Oh, did you play golf with him today?" And she says, "Yeah." He says, "Well, look at him now. Did you hit him over the head with that 5-iron?" She says, "Yes, officer, I did." And the cop says, "Well, how many times did you hit him with that 5-iron?" And she goes, 4, 5, 6, 7. Put me down for a 5. You get it?
I get it. It's cute. See, that's a cute one. But Stan's told some gut-wrenching ones too.
Yeah.
As you may know, before every broadcast when I was doing TV, Stan would come in and he'd give us all a joke. And some of them are hilarious. And my wife is his best audience. Diane, oh, she laughed at Stan. Put me down for a 5, okay?
Listen, guys, I gotta go. I love seeing you, Chico. You look terrific. You really look. You look like you should be playing, but then again, the mask. It's not the same. It's not the same.
And you know who should I be playing for? The Rangers?
No.
The Rangers, right?
You live in Jersey. You can't be playing in Medicine Hat for crying out. So Jersey.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, Stanley, Medicine Hat won 12 straight games. They're the cream of the crop in the Western Hockey League. Just so you know, Medicine Hat.
Well, let me tell you.
Whatever that means.
You tell Diane when last time I was in Manhattan, I was in Times Square, and a guy comes up to me on the street and he says, "Can you give me $10,000 for a cup of coffee?" I said, "Are you crazy? $10,000? You can get coffee for $1." He says, "Well, I want to have it in Brazil."
See?
Boy,
thanks, Fish. Thanks, Stanley.
thanks. See you guys.
See you.
Okay, I have a question about goaltending. We've talked about this a lot. Goaltending is such a mental position, right? How early did you realize it's just as psychological as physical?
Well, when I was young, I wasn't drafted, right? I wasn't very good, but God gave me the ability to analyze, to look at things and say, the percentage of that could work. No, that won't work. So growing up, I played 3 years in the minors, but Elena, I was always looking at the best of the goalies at that time and saying, what does he do? Okay, yeah, duplicate that, duplicate. So I never thought I was going to make the NHL until one day I woke up and I'm on the New York Islanders and the rest is history. But I think I always had it in my mind that the game isn't physical because you've got goalies. Like if I say to people, is every goalie the same? Are they all as good? One as good as the other? Well, no. And usually it's because of some physical trait that one goalie is better than the other. but it started in the mind. It's like, as you know, hockey sense for forwards and D, invaluable. If this guy's got hockey sense, or a girl's got hockey sense, because women's hockey over here is big. They got a professional league. If you got hockey sense, like Wayne Gretzky, you know, or Connor McDavid, he's a great skater, but he's also got it up here. But there's also goalie sense. Reading the player, the shooter's trying to lure you into thinking he's going to do this. You sometimes want to say, okay, I think he is. I'm going to challenge. But you might think, no, he's trying to set me up and pass it. So just be ready, like almost, okay, you look physically like you're playing him, but you know he's passing it, say, to your right or left. You're all ready to go there. So you're right, Elena. It's tell you guys that I asked Marty Brodeur, because he was always positive. And I said, and now he had great team. I said, Marty, how do you keep that mental positiveness? Here's what I do, Chico. He says, if the guy makes a good goal and he really scores and he just a great shot, he says, not on me. He made a great shot, right? And so he said, I just let it go. And he says, if I made a mistake, I would think through the mistake and say, okay, I did this, this, and this. Yeah, what should I have done? Oh, I should have done that, that, and that. That's what I'm going to do next time. He said, that's what I'm going to do next time. So he never got himself down, because it was either a great shot and he didn't have a chance, or he said, yeah, I made a mistake, but I know what the mistake was and I'm not going to make it again. And I thought, that's brilliant to keep your mind positive. And so you're right. Mental is so big a part of goaltending.
I've heard that when you're in your net and the puck is coming towards you, you're taught to watch the stick, not the player's body. But Connor McDavid does things that completely break that rule. I mean, he'll look one way, sell a fake shot somewhere else, and his stick position is just ridiculous. It makes it almost impossible to predict where the puck is actually going. How do you even read that as a goalie?
Elena, that's why he scores 70 goals. You are absolutely right. No, because, you know, we got our little game we're playing in our head on trying to figure out what they're going to do. But he's also trying to figure out what the goalie's going to do. And quite honestly, his ability to cut back, to stop, to change direction, I mean, like no one else. There's a couple guys. Celebrini has it out in San Jose. He's going to be one of those guys. But, you know, it's like what Marty says. Guys like him, you'll say, okay, if they score on me, I live with that. But if the third and fourth line guys are scoring, or the fourth or fifth defense are scoring, then you got to say, maybe I got a problem. So McDavid, you try your hardest. He scores, like Marty would say, hey, you just beat me on that one. That's all I can live with.
You know, when a game starts to get away from you and you're losing, how does a goalie mentally recover from that? I mean, we see goalies get pulled pretty quickly sometimes, and it feels like such a mental position. Once you're in a rough stretch or a losing streak, how do you gather yourself and reset? How do you snap back?
Well, I mean, like you say, it's hard sometimes to score goals. We're having trouble. The New Jersey Devils are having trouble scoring goals, and Markstrom and Allen have played well. But if they're not going to score you 3 goals, you think about it, Elena. You got to be almost perfect. You could maybe give up 2, but you can't give up 3, and a lot of times you can't give up 2. So what they do, and you know how all goalies have goalie coaches now?
Yep.
They got to talk about that and say, you know, was that really my fault? Wasn't it? So it's a mental game for them. But here's the thing. They're all making a couple $100,000. Oh, no. No, they're all making millions. Okay? Millions to soothe their souls. But if you want to continue making those millions, you better figure out a way to play better than you did if you had a bad game. And that's what I like about goalies. They can say, well, I played well. I should have played well. I'll play bad. Good next game. No. What did you do this game? And you live in the moment. It's not the future, and don't have a rear view mirror on you. If you're a goalie and look back and, I should have had that one. I wish I would have played better. Yeah, it doesn't matter. What's happening tonight? And I think that's what goalies learn. Live in the moment. And I think the other thing is, you guys, if you're a little bit aggressive as a goalie, not over aggressive, it looks like, okay, he's still got it going. Like Jacob Markstrom, I love the guy, but we went into Long Island. Well, the night that Sorokin beat my record for the most shutouts, they beat us 9-0. And he just looked demoralized, and they were firing bucks by him. But then the next game he came back, and he played really good. So that's what goalies have to do.
What do you think of Tretiak? I think he's one of the best goalies.
And you were right. He's a friend of mine. I don't know if his wife's name maybe was Elena. I knew him, and we remember it was communism then, and he was a great player. And we had a showdown in Toronto. We went out to a small rink, and the North Americans or NHLs were shooting on the Russians, and the Russians were shooting on us. I think the Swedes were there, but this is nowhere like Tretiak and I drove back in the same car from that arena to the hotel. And he was saying, like, he couldn't speak a lot of English, but he said, look at that car. Look at that car. Like, all these cars. Because what was it? Not Lada. What was the Russian car?
It was Lada, yeah.
Yeah, Lada. Everybody had Ladas. But over here, he was seeing, Corvettes. He was seeing muscle cars, and he was just going crazy. But no, he was one of the first butterflies, and he was great. But here's the way the coach was. I mean, it was tough. It was communism. They all had to live in a dorm. They all practiced. So I'm in Finland playing for the U.S. team, and I'm watching a practice. I went to watch the Russians. And the backup to Tretiak, he played in 1980. Anyway, I forget his name.
Michigan.
But anyway, Michigan, yes, thank you. He gets hit, you guys. He gets hit and knocked down on the ice, okay? He's laying there. And the coach at that time was Tikhonov. Anyway, he puts his hand up, like, stop the drills. Okay, stop the drills. And I'm thinking, well, the medical guy's going to come out to see how Michigan is. He laid there, let's say, not a long time, but let's say a minute or so would seem long. He's shaking himself. He drags himself up. Nobody even skated to him. He shook his head. He got back in the net, and Tikhonov went, okay, let's go. And I thought, it's like, come on, he got hit in the head with a puck. So it was tough for those guys, for all of them, because we had Fetisov as a coach and a player in New Jersey. But, it was they were good, and Tretiak was one of the best.
I just finished watching Miracle on Netflix yesterday, and they showed the Soviet training compared to the US, and the US team was trying to copy parts of it, and honestly, it looked insane. They were doing all these weird drills, like spinning plates around their heads and just nonstop skating back and forth on the ice to maximize the speed. Watching was like, oh my God, that training was wild.
Well, because they could do whatever they wanted, and the players had to do it. Tretiak told me a story. They're living on dorms by the Moscow River, and so there's a hill that goes down to the river. And in the winter, it's kind of frozen. And Tikhonov comes into him after practice, right? And then now it's nighttime, maybe it's, it gets dark there, just like everywhere, cold. And Tikhonov came into Tretiak and said, so how do you think you played today in practice? And Tretiak knew what he wanted him to say. He wanted him to say, well, not that good, right? So Tretiak says, well, I played better. I could have probably been better. Tikhonov says, yeah, I think so too. Come on, put your boots on, put your clothes on, your winter clothes. He took him outside. Now, remember, the dorm is on the edge of the hill that goes down to the Moscow River. He said, okay, run down that hill. run back up that hill. He had to go out on his own at night and run that hill in the snow, in the cold, because Tikhonov wanted to teach him a lesson or something.
Oh,
But you're right. They could do whatever they want.
probably in -30 as well.
Exactly. But here's the thing with Tikhonov. I don't know what you guys think, but I think pulling Tretiak in that game against the U.S., that was a mistake.
It
Mm.
was
He
a
should not
mistake.
have pulled him.
Yeah, I agree.
Because didn't Mushkin give up 2 goals?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah. So
And then
Yeah.
in the third, he gave one up. Not
he
his
gave-
fault, but
yeah.
yeah.
Mhm. No.
So
I have to ask, winning the Stanley Cup, what did it actually feel like? That moment when you realized that's it, you did it.
it was in overtime. And you're right, you guys. Look, at your whole life, especially back then, wasn't built around money. No, you win the Stanley Cup back then, you got a $20,000 bonus. That was a lot, right? Back then. But you know what's right. But anyway, when Bobby Nystrom scored the goal and you won, and we had underachieved a few years, so the hunger was there. It was like, what? And then the euphoric feeling that was occurring because, you know, I'll tell you a little bit later. So on the ice, it was pandemonium. It was great. Go in the locker room, great. Then we went to the GM's house, great. Right? We, stayed up till like 3 or 4 in the morning because here's the truth. I love hockey, but it's not everything because people knew, and it was true. Once you go to bed after you've won the cup and you sleep, it's not quite the same the next day. It's not as then you go to bed the next night, not quite the same next day. And I would say very shortly, let's say a month or 2 later, you know what fans are asking? Can you do it again? It's the way of the world. Yeah, you did it once. But so what I'm saying is the incredible emotion you felt the night you won it, you stayed up. And that's why when people are interviewed and they're asked, how do you feel? They go, I'm just so excited. I can't even think. I'm just full of emotion. They're not lying. It's all this pent up. I don't know if it's the same now because players expect so much, but back then you never expected to win the Stanley Cup. So when we won that first one, it was like unbelievable. But again, I will say this, it doesn't last. And for you Toronto fans, 1967 was the last time they won. No, that's a long time ago, and I don't know when they're going to win the next one.
We have 3 goaltenders, and honestly, they've all been kind of unreliable. One night they're great, the next night it's a different story. What do you think needs to improve for this team to actually be a Stanley Cup contender?
Well, they have Matthew. I think you guys, you need about 6 game changers, 6 players that could change the game, whether it's a goalie, a D, or forward. You do that. I mean, there's a lot of really good players. I'm talking about the top 5 or 10%. And in the Islanders, we had that. So for Toronto, Matthews is on the cusp of still being that, but they don't have the goalie. They don't have the defense. They are about 4 or 5 impact players away, and I don't know where they're going to get them. I don't know. Same thing in Vancouver. My nephew coaches there. I love them. We were just out there, right? We just got home. But who's going to – because here's what – J.P. Parise was Zach Parise's dad, and Zach played in the NHL, great player, right? He retired. And JP, when I'm on Long Island and we're in the dressing room, he says, he's French, Chico, come here. He says, I said, yeah, what's up, JP? He says, I'm going to tell you why it's really hard to win consistently in the NHL. I thought, this is going to be so insightful. And you know what he said, you guys? He said, because the other team wants to win too. I go, that's it. But you're right. You get pumped up for Vancouver players, Toronto players. Us in New Jersey, We get pumped up for the Devils or wherever you are, Pittsburgh. But we think our players are better than yours. And here's the thing. If I have more good players than your team, you guys, we're going to win over the Hall. Not every game, but it's the best team talent-wise, if they got the heart, will beat a team that's got less talent. It's just the way the game's always been.
Mhm. Yeah. I started playing when I was 18, and I made it to semi-pro. I was played senior hockey in Saskatchewan, where we were getting paid to play. And I always thought it would be awesome to get paid to play. And my first contract was $1,000 a month plus $100 room and board. And I thought that was just awesome. But at that point, it became a job. And my whole kind of, they're not paying me to play; they're paying me to play well. And so, it kind of changes the dynamic. And anyway, I played with your cousin Wayne Resch.
Where were you playing?
Where were you playing? Assiniboia, Saskatchewan. So south of Moose Jaw.
I've been there. Yeah, I know. My grandparents had a farm down there. Yeah.
Yeah, so Wayne Resch was on our team, and he said you were his cousin. So Wayne, if you're watching, I'm talking to your cousin.
And the other thing is now, if you aren't playing well, like I think the players are good, and sometimes they can't do anything about it. But you're paid to play well, right? Not just to play and show up.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't, what can they do to you? They can't cut your salary. Yeah. They can pay you 2/3 of it. My point is, if you hadn't played well, you would have been out of there. But in the NHL, you cannot. You can't. And that's the dilemma. There's not that, and here's what people don't realize too. A certain amount of fear in life is good. It's a motivating factor. Too much fear can debilitate. But when we played, and I think some guys like Crosby and that, they still have a bit of fear that they don't want to look bad. They built themselves up to this level. They want to stay there. But there's got to be some fear. But in today's hockey, the minimum that the NHL can pay you, the least, is $750,000. That's the lowest paid guy. And it goes up to 17 or whatever Kaprizov got. My point being, millions, 17 million. My point is, you can kind of manufacture fear. It's like hunger. If I've just eaten my carrot cake and I had some pizza and I say, oh yeah, I'm still hungry, someone's going to say, no, you're not. But what if I haven't eaten for a day or two? And I say, I'm hungry. You're going to believe I'm hungry. So the players are always going to say they're hungry, but in reality, where's the hunger? You're not losing your salary. You're not getting banned. Well, you could get benched, but not usually. So it's just, maybe it sounds skeptical, but I'm just saying, I've been here in the NHL 50 years. Their human nature, they're humans, and their natural nature, just like me, will take over. And if most of the fear is eliminated, that's why I think after playing a terrible game, the coach comes out and says, well, we just didn't have it tonight. Yeah, we didn't play very well. And right? And I'm thinking, you had 18,000 people that paid a ton of money. They fought the traffic. They had to pay for parking. They had to go home after the game, get home late. You can't just blow it off by, we just didn't have it tonight. Oh, really? Okay.
Anyway. Just a couple more questions before we let you go here.
Thank you.
1968 to 71, you were at the University of Minnesota, Duluth. How did you end up there? And what was it like?
Well, it was great. I was kind of raised in Regina, but I love women. I had 5 sisters, love them all. I had a mom she kind of ran the show, right? when I was playing junior, I'm going to be turning 19. My last year that I can go to college. And I remember my mom coming and saying, because I could have stayed and played one more year. She said, no, you're not that good. You cannot put your hopes in hockey. You got to go to college. And there was a guy from Regina. She was friends. My mother was friends with his mother. He had gone to Duluth. And she just said, this is where your son wants to go. She didn't make me, but that's where you're going. And I knew I wasn't that good a hockey player. So I thought, yeah, I better get an education so I can fall back on that. And that's why I went. And, college is great because of the focus. And it's a balance in life. Like, I feel bad. I'm not down on medicine, like junior, but it does bother me that those kids at 16 and 17, their life is just hockey, riding buses, snowstorm buses. That's not developing them as the whole person. I mean, I'm not saying it's awful, but that was the difference in college. It expanded your horizon on what life could be, what it can be. I'd never flown on an airplane before I went to Duluth, so it was a game changer for me.
Did you have good teams while you were there?
We were good. We weren't terrible. They've won 3 NCAAs in the last 10 years, but no, we were good. But probably weak goaltending cost them. That was me. So we didn't win like we wanted to, but it was fun. It was good. And here's the last thing is I met my wife there. 53 years we've been married.
Oh, so, nice. Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
74, 75, I think it was. You were part of the Islanders team that came back from 3-0 down to Pittsburgh. Can you describe that experience? And I know Al, we had who did we have on, but I can't remember, but apparently Al Arbor came on the ice and said, if anybody here doesn't think we can come back and win, they can leave right now. And that was the catalyst for everybody getting on board. So yeah, can you describe that, how coming back from 3-0 down? And I think you were playing those games, weren't you?
Yeah. Okay. So Smitty plays the first 3. Then Al goes on and he draws a line on the ice, right? Because it's snowy. He says, anybody who doesn't believe we can win, stay over there. Anybody who does, come over on this side. Well, of course, you're going to go over on the other side, right? Everybody would. But did we think it? I don't know. But he said to me, Resch, he said, well, what else am I going to do? You're starting. See what you can do. So then, you guys, I'm telling you, in life, there's Dick Irvin was a great player and coach, and he coached Toronto to championships, Montreal. And his saying in hockey is called, some people call it puck luck, the unseen hand. How shots can hit you or hit the post or hit a player that should have been a goal. The unseen hand, how it dictates the outcome of the game so often. So I go, and it's a home game, and we're down 3-0. Okay, we win, big deal. Got to go back to Pittsburgh, 3-1, and then we started kind of believing. But here's the thing, honestly, I'm starting to get really lucky, and we're getting breaks, and we're scoring. Then we come home, and now we're saying, at least I was saying, okay, we could win at home. If we win at home, it's going to be 3-3. And then we're going to go to game 7. Well, anybody can win. So we win at home. We go into game 7, and I'm a rookie, and I'm telling you, I'm not that good. But in the first period, they had a couple of great lines. Bing, off the goalpost in the first period. They really let us have it. I go down early. Boom, hit me in the head off the old fiberglass mask. Boom, off the post. I was so lucky, you guys, and it just continued, and we go to the third period, and it's 0-0, and Eddie Westfall scores a goal. But here's where I know I'm lucky. So Pierre LaRouche, a really good player, he gets a breakaway when it's 1-0. I make a poke check that I shouldn't have made, But it not only surprised me because it wasn't the right move, it surprised him. And I poked the puck off the stick, and we won 1-0. But again, it was luck. I'm not. If anybody doesn't think luck is a part of winning hockey, they're idiots because it is. I mean, somebody says you make your own luck. No, sometimes, but no luck. And you're sitting on the bench, you guys, and you're watching because the players are attentive. You can see if you're getting lucky in your end, and you can see somebody shoots it wide, hits the shin pad, goes in the net. They saw how lucky that was, and they're thinking. I mean, you're thinking, oh, Lady Luck or whatever. She's sitting on our bench right now, right? We got the luck, and it affects how you play because you want to feel we're going to play good, but we're not naive. Luck is going to come into the winning and losing, and that's what happened with me in Pittsburgh, and it was a glorious night. I felt bad for Pittsburgh fans, but not that bad, just a little.
I'm sorry. One more question just popped into my head.
Sure.
So you win the Stanley Cup in 1980 with the Islanders, and the next year you're on the road to winning the second one, but you get traded to Colorado halfway through the season. How was that as devastating as I would think it would be?
Well, first of all, it wasn't halfway through the season. It was on the final day of trade. We played a game against Vancouver Saturday night, and our defenseman got hurt for the Islanders. I'm on the bus going to Winnipeg for a game, and they're trying to make this deal because they lost the defenseman. And Billy McMillan was the GM of Colorado. They had a defenseman. They sent him. He says, I want Resch to come out here. That's what happened. It was devastating, but then the next year, Glenn Hall, who just died a couple of weeks ago, Mr. Goalie, just a great guy. Love that man. He became my goalie coach, and I won the Masterton Trophy. I had one of my best years. I almost had a nervous breakdown, but we had a great year. So it was good, but and you know what? Going to New Jersey, starting with that franchise and all, I was somebody there. I mean, I was a really good Islander, but I wasn't. They had Potvin and Troche and Bossy and Gillies and Smitty, and you know what I mean? Like, I was just a role player, but with New Jersey, it was a second start. So, and I did get one cup, so I have nothing to complain about.
Well, you talk about being lucky, but Chico, you were a great goalie. You really were. I loved watching you play, and especially like toward the end of your career in Philadelphia, I thought you were just amazing. And so, like being a goalie, like you watched the goalies, you were awesome, man. Like really, really, I loved watching you play. So, and except when you played against the Canucks, then I hated you.
Yeah. Well, I gave it everything I had, and that final year, Ronnie Hextall was the goalie. We played Edmonton Oilers in Game 7 in Edmonton and lost 3-1. But he won the MVP to Conn Smythe for the best player in the.
He deserved it. He deserved it. He deserved it.
So he's still a good friend. So I felt there wasn't anything else I could do, and then I retired at 39. But I gave it all. But again, divine intervention, because some of that stuff, you just wonder, how did it turn out that way? But so and now I'm on your podcast. I must be somebody. I'm on your podcast.
we were honored to have you.
Absolutely, Chico. And I hope you'll come back, because I'd really like to delve into your career some more.
Yes, I can talk for hours, honestly.
Well, I love talking just hockey like you guys, and I love talking the Russian part. I studied at UMD. My minor was in Russian history. I know a lot about Russia. And then when I got to meet some of the players, and stuff. It was fascinating. Just say how different they were from the Czechoslovakian. It was called like they were also communists, but you could go talk to them. You could hook up with them. But for the Russians, you could get close to the players. Whether they were afraid they were going to defect, I don't know. But I always felt bad because they could never partake in some of the events of the tournaments we had because they were so controlled.
I was always fascinated by Russian players like Pavel Bure and Ovechkin and the Russian Five, Sergei Fedorov. I actually went to his jersey retirement in Detroit, and that was such a great event. And Vladislav Tretiak is my favorite goalie. Well, and you too.
But, thank you. Can I just tell you one heartbreaking story?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so Tretiak, I get his jersey, the old Russian CCCP, right? I got it. Now, that was before collecting came big. So then I go, and I was in Colorado, and there's a clubhouse guy there, a nice guy, and he's trying to get ahead. Then he goes to the Rangers, I go to the Devils. He remembers I have that jersey, and he begged me to trade the jersey for a couple of old Ranger programs. I didn't want to, but I liked him and felt sorry for him. So I traded my Tretiak jersey to him. He sold the jersey. I thought he really wanted it. No, he just wanted to get it and sell it. And I don't hold it as a grudge, but I have Glenn Hall's jersey. I have Ronnie. I have some great goalies, and I had Tretiak's, but anyway, okay, I'm over it. Thank you. And I know Paul Henderson really well, who scored the goal with less than 15 seconds left. Remember when Canada beat Russia in 72?
Yeah.
He scored the goal. And, divine. It went through Tretiak's leg. Tretiak was one of the best butterfly goalies. Phil Esposito took a shot, went behind the net. He goes and gets the puck. Paul Henderson gets knocked down. He's just getting up, and Phil Esposito passes him the puck. I've seen the clip. He just whacks it in the middle of the net. And Tretiak, who was so great, for some reason, looked like Chico Resch or something. No, but he put his stick to the left, and the puck went right through his legs. And that was a game-winning goal, and Canada erupted, and it was a great event for the Canadians. But I always felt bad for Tretiak because it went right through him, and he never gave up those goals. But at that moment, who knows?
Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, puck luck. You're right, Elena.
Hand,
the
right?
unseen hand.
The
Yeah.
unseen hand.
Exactly. The unseen hand was pulling his stick away from the area between his legs, I guess. Yeah, you're right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was a great, fun conversation. Big thank you to Stan and Jerry and to everyone listening and watching. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to Bottle Rocket, follow us on socials, and we'll catch you next time.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys and girls.
Thanks,
Bye.
Chico.